Alright, here we are for round 2. We have again won the die roll. This hand is not great. We can... well, we can go Island on turn 1, turn 2 City of Traders, Intuition for 3 Show and Tells, and then on turn 3 we can Show and Tell with Spell Pierce backup. I'm not sure if that's actually good or not. The bad part about playing 8 of the fatties is that sometimes you draw multiples and it's basically like mulliganing anyway. But I think that these 6 cards would be a fine 6 card hand, so I'm not going to mulligan and try to do better than that. So I'm going to say no. Being on the play here helps a little bit too. Now, if that plan that I laid out doesn't really pan out, then we're going to have issues. So Island Ponder, we may be looking at a mirror match here, or he may be playing some sort of Tendrils deck, or he could be playing High Tide. That seems to be popular on Magic Online. Okay, Preordain. Is it better to Preordain or Intuition? If this is the mirror match, we really don't want to be casting Show and Tell. That's not a very good way to win the mirror match. I think I'm actually just going to Preordain here. Seeing Basic Island, I'm not worried about Wasteland. I mean, if I only saw Basic Island, I might be worried about it, because he could be playing Merfolk, but since he went Island, Ponder, I'm not worried about that, so I'm going to get the Volcanic. And then I will Preordain. Okay. So I think I'm going... If this is the mirror match, we can't just cast this blind, I don't think. Well, if we cast it next turn and put Emrakul into play, then if he... Yeah, I mean, I think we have to keep the Show and Tell, but I don't really like seeing it. I probably also should have put the Ponder on top, that way if he plays Gataxian Probe or Thoughtseize or something, then I can't, or he doesn't see that we have this. But leading with Island Ponder, it's unlikely that he has those cards anyway. I guess if he's on... Oh, okay, so maybe he's on Ad Nauseam. Well... So yeah, now we see if this was a Ponder, we would be in much better shape here. Since I made that mistake, we're actually going to have to Spell Pierce this. No, hopefully he... Oh, really? Okay. So he's probably going to take our Show and Tell. I'm not sure what this is now. I guess he can be some sort of bug control deck. Okay. I think we are going to Ponder, and we might Intuition. We'll see what happens here, though. Okay, so Force of Will is likely a card that we want. I think we want to Brainstorm and be able to put back one of these fatties, and that the Brainstorm also draws into this Tarn. The only downside of that is if he is playing Daze, then we are not going to be in good shape. I haven't seen any Daze decks run Basic Island Underground Sea. But if he's running a homebrew or something, then who knows. I think the best play is just to take and play the Brainstorm. We're going to put Scalding Tarn next from the top, so we draw it if our Brainstorm gets countered. Okay. So now the question is it better to put Gristlebrand or Emrakul into play? I think the answer is probably Gristlebrand. We're going to get to the point here soon where he can cast Liliana of the Veil or Jace, and both of those deal with Emrakul, and I guess they also deal with Gristlebrand, but being able to draw 7 cards first is pretty incredible, so we're just going to put back both Emrakuls, play our Tarn to be able to fetch. This might also be the blue-black Dreadstill deck, which runs Stifles, so I'm going to go ahead and fetch now. I'm an idiot. So see, well, I'm going to go ahead and let this Inquisition resolve. I should have been able to identify that he was playing Stoneblade from the spells he had played, but for whatever reason it slipped my mind. That's definitely what he's playing. Alright, so now the question is, do we play the City of Traders? I think the answer is yes, because it lets us hardcast Force. So I'm not sure if I would have played anything differently, knowing he was on Stoneblade. The really bad thing was drawing this instead of Ponder. That was disastrous. If I had not done that, what would he have done? He probably would have Inquisitioned my Intuition, and then on our turn we would have been able to show and tell with Pierce back up. So yeah, that was a huge, huge mistake. Okay, so this might be worth forcing. It's going to put us on a clock. He's going to get Batterskull. Next turn he's going to put it into play. And from that point, we have 4 turns. I think it's better to save our force, but it's close. Alright, another fatty was not what we wanted there. Letting him have a clock is not ideal, but if we had countered this and this turn he played Jace the Mind Sculptor or something, that would be much worse. Alright, Ponder is good. We certainly don't want these. And a Scalding Tarn that we cannot play. So maybe playing that City of Traders was not good after all? I think it probably still was. Okay, so what's he going to do here? Brainstorm. Does that increase the clock? He's going to have 7, then 14. So it's 3 turns instead of 4. And he gets to brainstorm. Yeah. Like, I don't think I can get rid of my Force and my Spell Pierce to counter that. It is unfortunate that he's getting to look at so many cards, though. Fortunately, he has few of them left in his hand, so if I draw a business spell, hopefully we'll be able to force it through. Huh. And he did not put Batterskull into play, which is curious. I don't know if that was just a misclick. Okay, so Jace, he's going to Fate Seal me. So I'm going to have 2 business spells in a row, or 2 cantrips, or something like that. He'll definitely put cantrips on the bottom. And then I can play my Scalding Tarn and get a shuffle, but that's not very good. If I force, he's got to have a counterspell or something. So if I force, then even if I draw a business spell, it probably won't resolve. So I think I just have to let this resolve and hope to have 2 business spells in a row. Clearly this is not ideal. Okay, so I guess he put that Batterskull back with Brainstorm. And an island, which he had chose to put on top. At this point, do I play Scalding Tarn? Since I have the... Okay, so I have 5 mana right now. Potential to have 6 mana on the turn I need to cast a business spell. If I play this, I'm basically going down to 5 mana on the turn I need to cast a business spell, but I get a shuffle. So I think I'm going to do that. So now we'll see if he is... I guess we won't see. It's always tempting when you have a fetch and they put something back on top to not shuffle, to try to get them. But I don't think you can realistically do that. I might try once though. What my bad draws here are another fatty or another land, and another land isn't that bad because that helps me play around Spell Pierce. But if I shuffle, no, I think I should just do this. Magic Online used to show you the position of cards that someone knew where they were, so you'd be able to see what he put back on top, but it does not do that anymore. I think that was in like the old client, like the what was that, like 2.5? I guess I'm going to get mountains, so I'll have 2 lands left in my deck that Misty Rainforest can get. Alright, Brainstorm is a very good card. I think I cast it now. Counterspell. So he either has counters to burn or that... Okay, so one of his cards is Batterskull. Then he's got to have like Force Blue card or something. If I force this, then he's going to counter back. If I don't force this, I'm back on the plan of drawing runner. or having runner and being able to draw the one under it. I don't think I can counter here, which is very unfortunate. Maybe then I should have waited to do that in his end step. But the reason to do it main phase there is if you draw into a fetch land, you get to shuffle away both cards you put back. If I wait until his end step, then I'm only going to get to shuffle away at most one card. But at this point, shuffling cards away is not much of a concern, since I'm getting one more turn to draw something. And hopefully he'll bottom this. And he put it on top. So we're probably dead. And he's got a Caracas. So we need exactly sneak attack. Yeah. Alright, so in that game we learned to think about how we stack our preordains and ponders, so we do not lose games that we should easily win. Alright, I do not like Leyline of Sanctity in this matchup. He's playing Inquisitions and probably Thoughtseize, but this turns off like at most 6 of his cards, or I guess 7 because he probably has Vendilion Click, which is really not that many. This card is more against like Jund. We definitely want these Red Blasts. The big question is how many Echoing Truths, if any. If they have Humility or Ensnaring Bridge, then obviously we need this card. If they do not, then having this in our deck is, I mean, it's a blank, so that's not appealing. Another question is, do we bring in Through the Breach and board out some Show and Tells? Which the reason you would do that is basically the same as why we would board an Echoing Truth. If you Show and Tell and they put Humility into play, it's kind of embarrassing. I think I want these. Usually in this situation, I just trim some cards. Okay, so games go on long enough that having one less fatty is not a big deal. In that last game, we had 2 in our hand pretty much the whole game. Again, since games go long, you can cut a Lotus Petal. The fast mana isn't as important. And then these are just our worst card filtering cards. I guess it's probably, one has to be better than the other, so it's probably right to cut 2 of one. I guess I'm going to cut 2 Intuitions. I've had this deck board in Surgical Extraction against us before, and Surgical Extraction makes Intuition a bad card. This hand is not spectacular, but not the worst. We can Spell Pierce a discard spell and Preordain. Yeah, we're not going to mulligan. Alright, so he's on 5 cards. Our opponents have not had the best of luck so far. I think I'm going to hold up Spell Pierce instead of Preordaining. Alright, so I think we're going to Brainstorm before Preordaining. We're going to play this Scalding Tarn. He doesn't have Daze, but if he Spell Pierces, I suppose we could Spell Pierce back. I'm not sure we would. Alright, so those were just about the best 3 cards we could have brainstormed into. Okay, so next turn we are going to have 4 mana. Huh. Okay, so the cards we need on our next turn are Gristlebrand, Show and Tell, City of Traders, Force, blue card, Spell Pierce. So we can put back Force and Red Blast. Yes. Could put Red Blast on top. Because it's the card we would most like to draw. Although I guess that's really only going to come up if we shuffle. Because if we shuffle to Spell Pierce, then we would really like to draw that Red Blast, but then it's not going to be there anymore. Okay, so Stoneforge Mystic is not something we care about right now. I think we're going to go ahead and draw the Red Blast. It can counter a Jace. Another benefit of not fetching is Force is the second card down, so if we draw 7 off Gristlebrand, we're going to have an extra Force in our hand. So that seems fine. Okay, he has Force. Interesting that he has Blue Blast. That's actually a card that's very good against us. Being able to have a hard counter for sneak attack is a big deal. Now, I think it's better to fetch and Spell Pierce instead of forcing back. It shuffles away our Force that we would get to draw off Gristlebrand, but we still have a Force in our hand, so that's got to be better. Important interaction there that people always ask to look up the Oracle text of this card in real life. It does only get sacrificed when you play a land, so fetching does not cause that to trigger. And I suspect he doesn't have anything good to put into play off this, or he wouldn't have countered. Okay, he's got Batterskull, which is not bad, but much less impressive than Gristlebrand. And we are going to draw 7 right now, because if we hit a Lotus Petal, we'll be able to cast our Red Blast. And he is surgicaling Show and Tell. That's an interesting decision. Okay, so yeah, Show and Tell is not actually a card we want to draw. I don't think he can race us here. Okay, so interesting to note that he does have this in, so our intuitions are not good cards. I guess he's probably just dead and wants to see our deck. Well, he's not conceding. We have no Show and Tells left in our deck. And we hit a Lotus Petal. And I think we discard 2 lands. I think that's right. So maybe he has Path Exile here, or not Path Exile, Swords of Plowshares, and is hoping that I just have nothing. Which does not seem like the best plan, but it's a plan. Okay. So if I play my land, there's no reason to play my land. Okay, so I have him dead in 3 turns, and he cannot raise me. So we will just do that. Okay, so I'm going to have to discard if I do nothing. So is it better to have City of Traders in play or Volcanic Island in my hand? Or I guess I can just discard Brainstorm or Preordain. Or no, just discard the Volcanic. Might be better to have Volcanic in play than City of Traders, but I'm not sure. If something weird happens with this, we're going to have to resolve a sneak attack to win, and to do that, it seems better to have City of Traders in play. So, oh, yeah, I'm bad at combat math, so he's not dead in 3 turns. He's dead in 4 or 5. In any case, we are definitely still winning the race. Alright, so this fetch land is a lot different than a Volcanic Island because it shuffles for Brainstorm. So I think that's enough better to play it. I'm not sure what he's drawing to here, but I have made mistakes so far, so it is certainly right for him to try to play it out. So he is now on a 2-turn clock. Okay, so I could Brainstorm, because if I hit another land, I can play it and not have to discard. Yeah, sure. Snapcaster Mage. So he is planning on surgical extracting Brainstorm, which doesn't do anything. So I guess we're okay with that. I mean, I guess I could have Red Blasted it, but I'm not sure there's a reason to. And he's got us down to 15. But he is at exactly 7. As it turns out, in Legacy, even in Legacy, 7 power lifelink creatures win races. Are we going to change how we sideboard? I don't think we are. Did not see anything that indicates hateful permanence, so I guess we could board out these Echoing Truths, and what would we gain from that? Intuition seems like a real liability with Surgical, so I'm not sure we want those back in. I guess I could like get back my Emrakul and my Petal. That doesn't seem like that great a gain, and he mulled to 5s and didn't see a lot of cards, so it's still possible that Echoing Truth does something. It would certainly be embarrassing to just be cold to Humility. This hand has... The mana's not very good, but everything else is right. It's going to be pretty... Oh, geez, he's on 5 cards again, so... Our good fortune may have bailed us out of punting game 1. This deck does sometimes run some small number of wastelands, so I'm going to go ahead and get Basic Island. Okay. Those lands and that force are all good cards. I'm not sure which one, or in what order I want to draw them. I think I want Island in my hand first and draw Force next turn. Do I want to draw that Misty Rainforest? Yes, I think so. Or maybe not. I have a Ponder, so I'm going to draw the Misty and then the Forest and have the option to shuffle away the island. Right, well, as far as 5-card hands go, his have been okay. He has on the play this time, though, so that's quite a bit worse for him, I think. Okay, so I can fetch away the island and then ponder. Or I can ponder and pick a card and then shuffle away the rest. What would I like to see here? A Soul Ring land would be pretty good because then next turn we can show and tell with Force and Spell Pierce back up. So yeah, I think fetch first is fine. So there's a Soul Ring land. Emrakul is not very good, so I'm going to put Ancient Tomb on top, Scalding Tarn under it, so I can shuffle away the Emrakul if I want to do that. So what can happen here that's bad for us? Discard. If he plays Inquisition, I think we just let it resolve. Because we have 2 show and tells. I guess he could take Spell Pierce. But the alternative, realistically, is Spell Piercing the Inquisition, which is the same, except he doesn't gain information. So maybe Spell Piercing Inquisition is right if he plays it. It doesn't look like he's going to. Unless he has several cheap cards he can play, and he's deciding. Alternatively, he may be typing a long complaint, as often happens when people have bad luck on Magic Online. So he thought pretty long about playing that island. He could have Vendilion Click in response to my show and tell, which I guess is basically the same as a counter, except we can't Spell Pierce it. Alright, so we're just going to go for it. We can play around 2 counter spells as long as it's not Spell Pierce Force of Will. We can play around Counter Spell Force of Will. Yeah, we'll go for it. Alright, so it's Vendilion Click. So now he is vulnerable to Spell Pierce, so we are going to force pitching the other show and tell. Alright, he's probably going to put Batterskull into play again. He does. Do we draw 7? If we draw 7, we go to... Yeah, I don't think there's any reason not to draw 7 here. We might have to discard 3 cards, but if we hit Lotus Petal, then that's awesome. Ugh, that's a bad 7. Well, we're not going to 1. Let's see, if we go to 1... Yeah, I don't think we're going to 1. At least we have 3 Gristlebrand's we can discard. Or I guess we really discard 2 Gristlebrand's in a land. Okay. Let's ditch this basic. Alright, so fortunately we have Spell Pierce if he casts Jace the Mind Sculptor. Okay, so he's Inquisitioning us. So this might be setting up Swords to Plowshares on our Gristlebrand. So if we Spell Pierce, that taps him out, unless he has a land in hand. I think we just let it resolve. I think realistically the only way we can lose is Caracas. Or I guess we're probably going to have to end up drawing 7 more, so if we break on those 7. I'm kind of expecting to see Swords to Plowshares here, though. Creeping Tar Pit. So maybe his plan's to race us. He can deal 8 a turn, and I'm only gaining 7 a turn. Okay. So if I gain 7, he deals 8 and puts me to 7. And he goes to 24. So for every pair of our turns, I'm netting 3 life off him. So that's a 7-turn clock. And he nets 1 life off me. So that's an 8-turn clock. So it might be right to just attack. I think I ponder at least. That could change things. Okay, does another show and tell change things? I guess he would have had to have 1 turn to draw something very relevant. Yep, we will try a show and tell. Now, is it better to show and tell, or no, it's not better to brainstorm because we want to leave a man up to Spell Pierce. Yeah. Alright, so Caracas is still a live draw for him. Caracas is very good against us. We basically have to have Sneak Attack to beat it. Fortunately, these decks only play like 1 of it. Alright, if that's his plan, I'm not sure. Not sure he's going to get there. Alright. I noticed there on my end my time is getting low, so I guess in subsequent matches I'll have to not talk through my plays so much. But, kind of punted game 1, got lucky games 2 and 3. The matchup is not terrible. It's not really great either. It's got a lot of play to it. They do have some cards that are very, very good against us, but if they don't draw them, or don't draw them in the right order, then we can still pick up a lot of games. So we'll be back in a few minutes for another round.